Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, SAPwithIK. Hope you're all doing good. So today's topic will be on the comparison between the SAP S/4HANA public cloud, private cloud, and the on-premise edition. So in this video, we will try to understand what are the key differences and for which business segment are these enterprise structures basically suitable, and how are these beneficial for the business in the terms of the usage, the simplicity, or the cost effectivity. So let's get started. So in a brief, we will try to understand at a high level what is a public cloud, what is a private cloud, and what is an on-premise system. So in SAP, we basically have these three enterprise structures or architectures readily available for the implementation processes. So when we talk about the SAP S/4HANA public cloud, so we are talking about speed, agility, and modernization of our business operations without reinventing the wheel. When we look at moving to the cloud environment, the goal isn't just to change where our software lives, it's to change how efficiently we can work. So this is exactly what the SAP public cloud delivers to. Instead of building, the complex and the custom IT landscapes from scratch, the SAP public cloud offers a streamlined, modern approach built on three core pillars, which are the standard setup, automated management, and rapid value. So coming to the standard setup, so let's start with the foundation, which is basically a shared standard setup with an industry best practices. So in the past, the ERP implementations took years because the companies had to spend months in customizing the workflows and the business processes, and it didn't need to be customized so much at a heavy level, right? So the SAP public cloud changes this particular concept by providing a shared infrastructure where we basically can use the ready to use pre-configured standard scenarios. So these aren't just any business processes or the workflows, but these are the standards, that have been built on the thousands of leading global companies and their business processes. So by adopting this standard setup, we don't have to guess what works. We plug into a system that is already optimized for your industry from the day one itself. And then coming to the maintenance or the automatic updates in case of the public cloud. So now the biggest headache for any IT organization is basically the maintenance of the architecture, right? So with the SAP S/4HANA public cloud, so SAP itself manages all the maintenance activities and the automatic updates uh, on an periodical sequence. So that we will come to see once we go into the details of the release versions in the public cloud. So let's I mean for the ease of understanding, let's take an example of smartphone. So we basically don't write the code, for the latest software update that is available, right? But and we basically don't spend, the entire week in installing it, and it happens, automatically, like seamlessly in the background itself. The same way, SAP also delivers continuous innovations and compliance updates automatically on a periodical manner. So, which means that our internal IT team is completely, kept away from keeping the lights on and can focus entirely on developing the business growth. And then we have the l- cost entry. So, because this being a public cloud deployment, we basically eliminate the massive upfront capital expenditure of buying the expensive servers and managing the huge data centers, or maybe paying for heavy blueprinting phases for the consulting companies, right? So it basically operates on a predictable and the subscription based model. So how much you're going to use, you have to pay accordingly. That's it. And then with the combination of the standard processes, like we mentioned, we discussed earlier, so the time to value is dramatically shortened. And also, we get a fast and predictable implementation on a lower total cost of ownership. Now, coming to the private cloud. So, unlike a shared public cloud, the SAP S/4HANA private cloud basically provides us with a dedicated single tenant environment. It belongs entirely to our customer, which means that we have the flexibility to customize our own ERP system. We can modify the code where necessary. So we get the agility of the cloud while retaining 100% ownership over our business logics. And secondly, we get the benefit of a fully managed cloud ecosystem, but it will be on our timeline. So basically, SAP handles the infrastructure, data protection, and the background technical management, which basically frees our internal IT team from daily system maintenance. However, because this being our dedicated instance, upgrades are not forced upon us on every fortnight or an overnight basis. So here we have the flexibility to decide when we want to test, when we would like to validate the data or the results, and when we would like to roll out our new innovations. So this basically allows us to absorb new technologies like embedded AI safely without risking any business disruptions. And finally, we have the financial and the operational uh, line, where we basically, we typically spend years on refining our data, configuring our workflows, and building specialized assistant capabilities. So transitioning to the private cloud means we don't have to throw that hard work away. Why? Because we can perform a system conversion with a lift and shift concept. So this basically takes our proven legacy processes directly into a secure, high performance cloud environment. It basically minimizes, the risk of a massive system overhaul and heavily reduces the time needed to restrain our workforce. And to summarize it, the SAP S/4HANA private cloud basically offers the ultimate cloud transition on our own terms. It gives us a dedicated environment. Cloud operations are fully managed by SAP and a direct path to secure our historical software investments. And now coming to the on-premise edition, which most of you must be on and you must be aware of it. So this option is basically for the companies who wants the full ownership and with maximum security and the complete independence to have their own customizations on their hand. So it is built on basically three simple promises, like you can own your physical system, you can control the code, and you decide the timeline. But it comes with a price, right? It's a bit expensive. So in this case, our data does not live on the internet or on someone else's computer. It basically sits inside our own building on our servers, protected by our own security teams. And for industries with strict privacy laws or maybe highly secret information where it is maintained, this seems to be the safest way to operate as we hold the keys to our own data. And secondly, we have absolute control over coding and customizations. In the cloud, we often have to change the way we work to fit into the software, whereas in an on premise system, it is exactly the opposite way. We can change the software to fit our business if we have spent several years building on unique business processes, mapping a workflow that basically gave us an advantage over the competitors. So we can keep that particular concept exactly as they are. And coming to the timeline of the updates, so we have the complete control over the timelines here, but because the cloud systems update automatically, which can sometimes cause unexpected bugs or interrupt your work. But with the on-premise, nobody can force an update on us. So we basically decide if and when and how to upgrade the system. This means that we can plan our updates during our uh, low business months or the quietest months. So now let's do the side by side comparison with the four key concepts of the systems setup, license model, customizations, and upgrades across these three environments: public cloud, private cloud, and the on premise. So let's break down these differences into these four settings so that it will be easy for us to understand the concept at a high level. So when we first talk about the systems setup in a public cloud, we are basically in a shared or a multi-tenant setup. So think of it like renting an apartment in a huge building where we basically share the main infrastructure, but your space is entirely your own. It belongs to you, right? But whereas the private cloud and the on-premise, they give us a dedicated, a single tenant environment. So this is like owning your own standalone house, like nothing is shared over here. Now coming to the licensing model. So how do we want to pay basically? So in case of the public and the private clouds, which basically run on a subscription fee model, we pay as we use, usually monthly or annually, which keeps our initial costs a bit on the lower side. But whereas on the on-premise, we basically require an upfront purchase, which means a larger capital has been invested over here on the hardware and the server purchasing. Now, coming to the customizations. In the public cloud, it basically offers a standard setup. But if we still want to customize our own process, what we basically use is the BTP side by side to keep the core clean. In case of a private cloud, we have a bit more of flexibility to make some modifications as per the business needs. Not completely, but a bit more than compared to the public cloud. But if our business needs total control to change anything and everything, so then the on-premise is the best fit where you can do the full code modifications. And then coming to the upgrades, in case of a public cloud, these upgrades are completely automatic and handled directly by SAP. You always have the latest features, so without thinking about it, or maybe thinking about the schedules of the upcoming upgrades. But whereas in case of a private cloud, we get more flexible timings as long as you update within the standard support cycle. And with the on-premise, we have the total control on when we should actually upgrade the system. So the business and the IT team, they are going to play a major role in deciding the upgrade activities. So to summarize this concept, we basically choose a public cloud if you want low upfront costs, standard processes, and zero maintenance. And then you're going to choose private cloud if you want a dedicated environment with room for high customization, but still like the subscription model. But if you want to choose on premise, then you have the requirement to have the absolute control over your code and the update schedules, and don't mind the upfront capital investments. So in this slide, we'll be talking about the speed and the performance of the public cloud. So when companies basically talk about moving into the public cloud, they always talk about one major thing, that is speed. Because in the business world, moving fast helps you win. So the public cloud makes a business faster in three ways. So one is the fast to start in the deployment model, and fast to update in the innovation, and fast to grow in terms of scalability. So when we talk about the deployment process, in the classic days or the old days, starting a new software project took months. So where we had to buy physical computers, wait for them to arrive, do the setup, and spend weeks, uh, you know, working on them. But with the public cloud, the computers are already turned on and ready to use in data center. So we can basically set up our own system and go live in weeks instead of months. It is as fast as opening, a web browser in a click. And now coming to the innovation. So the technology changes quickly, and if you want the newest tools like AI, you cannot wait years for a major upgrade to be done, right? But whereas in the public cloud, this update happens automatically, and then the system also updates itself with the newest features as we are offline, and the business also gets the use of the latest tools instantly, so without our IT team uh, doing any extra work to make it happen. And now coming to the scalability, on normal computers your system might crash because it cannot handle the traffic, but you would have to buy and install more hardware, which takes weeks. In the public cloud, you can add more computer power with one click. It takes minutes to grow your system to match your new size of data. So the public cloud gives our business a fast forward button. It helps, to start fast and get new tools instantly and grow without waiting for days and months. As we discussed in our previous slides, so here we have the comparison between the on-prem, private, and the public cloud. Like what level of control do we have over these three systems? So at the on-prem level, we basically have the complete control, where we will be managing the hardware, architecture, and the upgrades as well, along with the customization. And then coming to the private cloud, we only have a flexibility of 85% where you can manage your customizations. And then coming to the public cloud, we only have an option to have it around 30%, right? But because most of the business is basically running on the standard ERP solutions. So here in this slide, we will see the trends that the ERP share has across these three systems in the market. So 55% stake goes to the private cloud edition, and 30% to the public cloud, and 15% to the on-prem. Why? Because it has been involved with a huge cost on the maintenance and the data structure. So depending on the company we are, so we need to be mindful of which enterprise solution basically fits in our business process, and accordingly we can choose either it should be a public cloud, a private, or an on-premise edition. So that's all for this video that I've planned to discuss with you. So basically the comparison between the SAP S/4HANA public cloud, private cloud, and the on-premise edition. So let's meet again in our next video.